Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Second item on the agenda. This is an exciting item. We have a discussion of Veterans Memorial and a request for approval and permission to proceed with Phase 1, which is the installation of flagpoles as an Eagle project. Parker, would you please come to the mic, tell us about the project, and tell us about your part in it?
Yeah. So I just have these for you guys.
And if you wouldn't, when you get back to the mic, go ahead and hand us these, but state your full name for the record.
Thanks.
My name is Parker Humes. I'm a senior at Carbon High School, where I've played soccer for all of my years there. In doing that, I've really enjoyed myself and had a lot of fun. And when I learned that they were building new soccer fields out at the fairgrounds, I was really excited to hear that, actually. And I wanted to help to make that an exceptional facility and make it a place that other teams would want to come and want to just enjoy our community. I thought one way that I would be able to help do that would be adding flagpoles to that facility. Other places I've been there have been flagpoles, and I think it really just adds to the atmosphere of the place, gives a sense of pride both in the place itself and in our nation. In doing that, I contacted Commissioner Miller about possible funding options. In doing that, we decided that there may be some grant funding available through the Military and Veterans Appreciation Trust. We wrote that grant. Unfortunately, it wasn't funded, and so we started seeking out other funding options. In talking to Commissioner Miller, I learned that the Association of Local Governments had written some grants for a similar military
Veterans Memorial?
Yes, a Veterans Memorial, sorry. And so we contacted Lori Riley and Jerry Gambert about potential funding, where they said they had written grants and heard back from one. They have a privately funded grant from Dominion Energy that they would be willing to allocate towards this project. They will be willing to help fund this project and help move it along. They're waiting to hear back from other grants that they've written, and so there's not enough money to complete the entire project as outlined in there. I've attached some pictures of potential ideas, rough drawings that I've made, and so I think that as it stands right now, having the funding that we do have and being able to move forward with the flagpoles as Phase 1, I think that it would be a good idea to split it into 4 phases. Phase 1 being installation of the flagpoles, which I will do as an Eagle project and get that taken care of. Phase 2 would be further concrete work around the base of the flagpoles and preparation for the monument. Phase 3 would be the installation of the monument, which would be one similar to that, just based on what you guys would like to see, maybe in conjunction with the American Legion Post 3, which is who we worked with previously for the last grant that wasn't funded. The Phase 4 would be further beautification of the monument area and the addition of lighting to the monument and to the flags, as well as just further landscaping to make it a more attractive monument. I'd just like to ask for permission to move forward with this and do Phase 1 as my Eagle project.
Just to add to what you've said, it's the American Legion's centennial anniversary.
Yes.
And being Post 3, that means that they were the 3rd post in all of Utah. And so that's pretty exciting that you've been working with them to try and put together a good application and several applications with the Association of Local Governments and other entities to try and fund some type of memorial, and that this could serve as an Eagle project not only for you, but with the 4 phases, it could be for others as well.
Potentially some others, yeah.
So you've done quite a bit of planning, you and your father, and
Oh, for sure.
it seems to me to be a worthy project. Commissioners, do you have more questions for Parker?
I'll make a motion to approve, give authority for Parker to move forward with the installation of the flagpoles.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You have permission.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Just
you.
be sure to coordinate with Recreation out there, make sure that they are part of that process. I know you've already done that, but just make sure that your timing's with them.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you,
And
Parker.
if you can coordinate with Curtis, the engineering department, just so he understands the engineering of the flagpoles and everything as well. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Item number 3 on the agenda, presentation of the Rural Online Initiative Pilot Program. Jordan Leonard, who is the program coordinator for Eastern Region Utah, for the Eastern Region of Utah State University Extension. That was a mouthful. Jordan, maybe you can give yourself a better introduction.
No, that's great. Thanks for having me today. I'm actually excited to be here, and I actually work for the good side now. Actually, I work for Carbon and Emery County. I will also be helping Uintah County, Daggett County, San Juan, and Grand. For this first year, we'll be focusing on Emery County as well as Carbon County. Economic development, community development is a huge part of my life. And I want to introduce the program. It's House Bill 327. I know I emailed you a few weeks ago through Representative Noel and Senator Hinkins. This bill is called the Rural Online Initiative through Utah State University Extension. I know many of you know Russell Goodrich. He is the director of the program. He's officially my boss, and I'm excited to work with him. It's nice to have a few of us locals work within the community, working with people we know and people we love. The goal of this program is to connect remote workforce with remote workers, freelance opportunities, project-based, entrepreneurs such as e-commerce, those that want to sell Etsy type products, and also employees. And I'll talk about this later, as we help train employees, they may be able to find full-time work through IT companies on the Wasatch Front or throughout the country or the world if they have the right skills. The idea is to create jobs, strengthen tax base, and empower families. The part I like the best is empower families. There's a lot of people in our community that just don't have enough to make it. If there are stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home dads that can generate more income, that would be one of our goals. Our target market would be the stay-at-home moms and dads. It would be underemployed or underemployed people with skills. The underemployed would be those that could potentially make more money in the Wasatch Front, but because they live here, the wage is different. So we want to help level out that wage with Wasatch Front income. Now, the value to the community would be training, education. We will help coach and mentor those, connect people with online opportunities to generate income, teach people how to become remote workers. A lot of us are used to brick and mortar 9-to-5 type jobs. It takes a different mindset to know that you can make money from home and do project-based type work. One of the greatest values we will offer will be a master remote work professional certificate. So they will go through our program. Once they finish the program, they will be a professional online remote worker, so that they can promote themselves online as taking a USU remote work certificate. And we want to make that credible with those employers. As we visit with IT companies, we will show them what the curriculum is, and we'll add different curriculum depending on what those IT companies are in need of. So essentially, in a nutshell, we provide an entry point for digitally based employment. We want to help people through entrepreneurship, through project-based, through the internet, fiber internet that we have, how do we create job opportunities? How do we create more income to our families? And so we'll actually roll out this program October 1st. We'll have at town hall meetings, and what we want to ask of the community and you as commissioners would be support, also potential places we can have town hall meetings so that we can help educate. We'll always have food at our events, so that brings people. But whatever you feel like, we're not going to push this in your face. We need a partnership. We know you have a lot of good economic efforts in place. We want to try to help fit in the gaps to help improve what you're currently doing. So we're excited to be here. We have 6 people on our team. We have consultants. So we want to do a good job. Do you have any questions on what we're working on?
I do, Jordan, just a couple of them.
Sure.
In the information that was sent to us, it sounded like you'll be here in Carbon County. It said Thursdays. Is that still the plan?
Yep.
And if so, I know a lot of this can be done online initially, but how do we get good contact information for you? Where will you be when you come here? And how can people, start to make that connection with you directly?
Perfect. So my home office is in Emery County at the courthouse. I'll be here on Thursdays.
And when you say here,
I'll be at the SBDC, Ethan Migliori's office, or at the AOG. Once we have our town hall meeting, I'll make sure to have those specifics available. If it gets really busy in Carbon County, I'll be over here 2 or 3 days, doing cohorts. I know there's some very good cohorts in Helper and here in Price. Will be a part of those. So the busier it gets, the more I'll be here. But it will either be at the AOG or the SBDC at the college. I'll let you know for sure.
Okay,
Great.
that'll be good. And I think one of the things we can help you do is once we know that information, we can certainly put it out through the county channels and make sure that it's as widespread as possible.
Great. I've got business cards. Whatever you can help for outreach would be great, Commissioner. That would be great. Thank you. And I'll make myself readily available. We've kind of been in hiding, getting our training finished. We want to bring this out and do it the right way, so it's not just a flash in the pan. So
Great. Thank you.
any other questions for Jordan? Jordan, we're glad that you're here, and we're glad that Carbon County is one of the first counties you're really working hard in. So reach out to us if you need more help or assistance getting the word out.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 4 on the agenda, we have consideration and possible approval of license agreement with the Green Team of Carbon County for the use of space at the county landfill. Jim, I don't know if you're speaking to this, or Casey?
Christian, so we've been working and having dialogue with the Green Team. They would like to continue their efforts of recycling in the county. It's been well understood that the county doesn't have any funding to go towards any recycling efforts at this time, so they've asked us for simply a place to function, basically. A place to park their van trailer. They also have a portable ramp that they'd like to use to be able to load with a forklift their Gaylord boxes and some of their recycling. So Christian has drafted up this agreement. It has not been presented to the Green Team yet, but if we're okay with this, we can approve it pending their approval and see what kind of efforts we can have for recycling in the county. Do you have any questions?
It's just a simple licensing agreement. I don't have any questions in regards to the agreement itself. It's just a legal a letter of understanding of sorts, or licensing agreement.
Commissioner Hopes, I think it's also important to kind of talk about where that area would be and how the public can have access to that recycling effort.
So the spot that they're talking about, or that we've identified, is directly behind the guard shack and just north, just below the metal recycling pile. There's kind of an open area. It'd have to be tucked up in behind because some of our semis, when they come in from our contractors, they swing out behind the guard shack and come across the scales. So that's the area that's been identified. It'd have to be tucked away, and yeah.
I know where it's at. I was
Yeah.
just asking for public,
Okay.
for that public input.
Some of the questions that were raised after the agreement were those who come through the gates and want to recycle, do they pay the weigh scale and if the fee to come in, or do we put the bins just outside of the scale or just outside of the guard shack so that they can drop off their recycled material before they go into the landfill? So those were some of the questions that have been raised, and those are some of the details we'll have to work out. Other than that, do you have any other questions?
I don't.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with the green team.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
I'll get a copy of that to you tomorrow, Jim.
And obviously, that's just the first phase in figuring all of that out. First formal part of that. Item number 5, consideration and possible approval of memorandum of understanding with the Utah Office of Tourism for the Utah Cooperative Marketing Grant.
Commissioners, this is another grant that we've been awarded by the Utah Office of Tourism, and Tina asked to be excused because she's attending some other meetings today. So this grant was given to us. This is a cooperative 50-50 item. This particular grant is for $7,333, and it is going to be used to not only identify the projects that we have identified to go forward with funding, but to also help push out the state brand. And so that's part of that need to call, of a call to action. And so as the county uses part of their monies, the $7,333 will be matched by the state, making it that kind of a nearly, well, $14,666 effort. And Tina has made that application. It's been approved, and she has a program outlined to go forward with the advertising, not only of Carbon County, but also with the state of Utah. And there's some timelines built into it, but as far as budget item, her funds are available, and this would just simply extend them that much further.
Any questions?
I'd go ahead and make a motion to approve the cooperative agreement, the marketing funds with the state of Utah.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding for the cooperative marketing grant, and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion
Aye.
carries.
It's not really an MOU, it is a legitimate contract, legal contract that we have to sign in return, so.
Don't know if there'll be any issue with how it was worded on the agenda, but I think we're okay. Item number 6, consideration and possible approval of a memorandum of understanding with Carbon School District for implementation of School Resource Officer Program. Sheriff Wood.
Commissioners, this is an exciting opportunity for the Sheriff's Office. So as you know, Price City Police has pioneered a school resource officer program with an officer at the junior high for the past several years. Well, we now have an opportunity to have a member of the Sheriff's Office be a school resource officer at the high school to work hand in hand with the Price City School Resource Officer to provide this service for the high school. And then we've divided, he'll actually also work at Castle Heights as well as part of his beat. We're asking to do this without adding any resources to the Sheriff's Office. We're going to restructure and use the resources we already have to provide this. The school board will provide a portion of his wage for the year, and he will be expected to work out of the school for the year. So I think it's a great opportunity. I see a great opportunity to build a strong relationship with Price Police, as well as lasting relationships with our youth that pay dividends for years to come with this type of opportunity in the schools. I think it's a great thing, and just grateful for the opportunity by the Chief of Price Police and the school board for giving us this opportunity.
Now, Sheriff Wood, how did this start? Was the Sheriff's Office engaged by Price City or by the school district, or?
So I was actually asked by Mayor Corianis to go to a meeting with the school board and Chief Drolks, and it started from there.
Okay.
Do we have anybody that's SRO trained?
We have nobody that's SRO trained. We missed it by one day. It was in August before school started. The next SRO training is in December between Christmas and New Year's. We intend to send our selected SRO and as well as our backup to that training. And I think Price is going to send their guy to the training for a refresher as well.
Okay. And then it talks about a uniform. Are they just going to wear the same county uniform or more of a?
We've created a little bit of a modified uniform for that, more of what our detectives would wear. It's a polo style shirt, but we're going to allow him to wear jeans to be more approachable by the kids,
okay,
but still readily identifiable as a police officer. He'll also wear his duty weapon and have all of his gear. Parks his car right in front of the high school so it sticks out so everyone can see it.
Perfect. Those were just two of the questions I had as Raina reviewing this.
Any other questions?
We appreciate the information. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the MOU with Carbon School District for an school resource officer.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion made and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 7, we have the review and possible approval of personal tax exemptions. This item will be presented by Julie Medley, who's the county assessor.
Commissioners, I have submitted a list of all the personal property accounts in our county that have filed for the exemption under Code 592-1115. This year we had a total of 621 accounts with a total tax due that was exempted of $49,036.82. So I'm just submitting this for your approval.
Can you give a brief explanation about the bill that passed, what was it, 2 years ago?
Oh no, it was
or a few years ago,
several years ago.
that changes personal property exemptions for businesses.
Every year the amount changes on it depending on what the legislature sets. When it first started out, it's been so long ago I can't even remember what it was, and every year it's moved up, and this year is at $10,500. Last year it was at $10,300. So as long as the business owner fills out the signed statement asking for the exemption, then we have to bring it to the commissioner and see if you guys will approve it. If they do not fill out the exemption by May 15th, then they no longer can qualify.
Okay.
Julie, as I reviewed all those pages of, exemptions, I didn't see anything that jumped out and said, we should be concerned. Is there any of those exemptions that you would flag or that we need to be concerned with?
Rose Malolo in my office takes care of the personal property, and that's what she does. If one comes in and she looks at it, and last year they had all this equipment, this year they don't, then
So
that's a red
you're
flag.
good
yes.
with the recommended list then?
Yes, she's very thorough with them.
Thank you.
And I do want to add, we had a couple businesses come in that said that they qualified for the exemption and they did not want to take it. They wanted to pay their share. And they signed on the land they were supposed to, and they paid.
Very good. I'd make a motion to go ahead and approve the personal tax exemptions as presented by the assessor's office.
We have a motion.
Just as a point of clarification, my wife is one of those businesses on that list. In the past, I have abstained from voting. Do you have a recommendation there, Christian?
I think you'd only need to abstain as to her own business, and that you can join in the motion with respect to all the other ones.
Okay. So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Julie.
Oh, number 8, we have a report on the lifting of fire ban on September 5th, 2018. Residents will still be required to get burn pile permits through the end of October 2018.
Commissioners, this is just an update for the public. The Forest Service almost a week ago lifted their fire ban. The county, in conjunction with the BLM and Utah Forestry, Fire, and State Lands, has requested that we remove the ban. It does require that any fires you have be in a fire pit, an approved
Designated fire area.
designated fire area. Other than that, if you do have like a burn pile, a slash pile, they request that you call into the, what's that called? Dispatch and get a permit to burn those types of piles.
And if you ever have any questions whether or not you can burn, it's always safe to call dispatch. So, and I guess that's all we need as far as the report. Thank you, Commissioner Hopes.
Yep.
Item number 9 on the agenda. So for 9 and 10, we have Scott Merrill with Carbon County Rec. He's the Assistant Director. He's going to report on some of the summertime activities, their expenses and revenues.
All right, well, thank you for having me here, Commissioners, and for being patient with me while I bumbled through it. I was a little late to the party and didn't know all of the planning that went in with these events, but I'll do my best to explain what we've done. As many of you know that attended our county fair, we changed things up a little bit this year in order to try a different activity with Warrior Days, which will be the other half of what I'm talking about. Historically, as many of you know, the county has set aside money for us to put on a county fair each year. I believe for the past little bit, it's been $40,000 a year. That's money that we spend to put on a great event for the community that we never really recoup. We never really bring in events or activities that generate an income to pay back some of that money. Well, the idea was presented this year that why not create an activity that could bring back some of that money, and that it wasn't just simply a $40,000 loss in county funds. From that, the idea of Warrior Days was born, an event to be piggybacked on with the 4th of July activities with Energy Days, to then celebrate veterans, armed services members, EMS, law enforcement, and really those that are warriors in their own right, struggling with different issues, illnesses, and to put together activities that the whole community could come out for. And the money that would have normally been used in a normal year for the county fair was allocated to Warrior Days in hopes that they could take that money, put on an event that would then generate revenue so that we weren't taking a complete loss on all the money. Hopefully I'm doing a good job describing how that is. So with that, what we had is, when we did put on the county fair in August, we staged that so that the very last event we could end with the Sheriff's Search and Rescue's Demolition Derby. The numbers from their event aren't included in this report because that's their own event. Because of us changing the date, some of the events of the county fair got spread out throughout the month. But with our general activities, with the blood drive, the barrel racing, the kitty con, the region meet rodeo, and the team roping, we estimate close to 2,000 people participated in the county fair this year between all those events throughout the month of August. We did not touch any of the money that had previously been budgeted for the county fair, since it had been allocated for Warrior Days, and we went out searching sponsorships and donations in order to put this on. We received $4,900 in sponsorships. We also received $5,300 worth of in-kind donations. So Swire Coca-Cola donated a trailer and root beer for us for the root beer floats that we gave out. USU Eastern donated Aggie ice cream. Many different businesses donated prizes for the different activities that we held. So that's where when we tried to put a dollar amount to everything that was donated, it was close to $5,300 of prizes and items that were given out during that time. We also collected $1,515 in vendor fees, which put us at the total monies we collected for the county fair at $6,415. Out of that, we did spend $1,381 on the different expenditures that we needed to put on these events, supplies for the contests and what have you. Then, because we didn't want to touch any of the budgeted advertising money, we used $3,020 of that money solely for advertising, which left us $2,014 in the positive for the county fair. So we were able to make a little money on the county fair. We did during that time have to pay employees and staff to staff these events. The numbers on that I had is just from Carbon Rec, Fairgrounds and Events. We spent $3,659 in employee wages during that time. So looking at it that way, you could see by after the time we paid all the county employees to work that event, it was a loss of $1,700 or so on the county fair. Looking at the same type of information for Warrior Days, and I apologize I couldn't give you the exact breakdown of sponsorships. I believe when I talked to Barry Horsley, it was close to $5,000 or so in there. We did take in money in vendor fees and also in the VIP tables for the events. But all things considered, the revenue from the concert ticket sales, from actually the ticket sales for all the events, minus the bull riding, came to $23,512.45 that we received in revenue for Warrior Days. To put on the events of Warrior Days, we're currently sitting at $45,764.49 that we have paid out in expenses, or we do have 2 invoices that we have yet to pay that we're aware of that I've included in those numbers as well. So $45,000 to put on this event. It was able to generate $23,500 back. Also during that time, it did require man hours. We did have to pay employees to work this event. Between the fairgrounds and event staff, the sheriff's department, and the Carbon County IT, we were looking at $9,752 in wages it took to staff everything for those 3 days. Those were wages that weren't budgeted for at the beginning of the year, since this event came up rather quickly on us. But even with the wages included in the expenses, which they're not, those expenses came out of the different departments' budgets. But even with those wages factored in, Warrior Days did not lose all the money that it was given. Even though that it had taken the $40,000 from the fair, it did generate revenue. It did, as was planned, to make it so that the money that put forth was not recouped. We were able to recoup some back. And considering that this was a first-year venture and a lot was learned about how things could be done more efficiently, it really did work out fairly well. If anyone have any questions, I'm not sure what else to say about it, but.
Scott, you coming in just, at the 11th hour, right before the events began and different things like that, I appreciate the unbiased explanation of everything that happened from a monetary perspective and everything that went into making these events happen. The only other thing that I would add is this planning and everything occurred within a 3-month period of time, predominantly by volunteers, many of whom put their own money into the event to make it happen, dollars of which are not included in this.
Absolutely.
So it was a really neat thing to see members of our community come together to put something together that normal committees take a year of planning to do.
Carnivals and entertainment groups alike normally are reserved a year in advance. For there to be the entertainment that was available there at that time in only 3 months' time was remarkable. The fact that they were able to find anything in general, let alone acts that people came out and supported. For me, really the highlight of the event was the bull riding. I didn't expect it to be that well attended, but the people that came out and supported it locally, the people that came in from other counties to support their riders, really did bring outsiders to this area. It put people in hotels and it ate at restaurants, and that was on a weekend when there was plenty of other things around the state and the country to do, being the 4th of July weekend. So there were a lot of good things in Warrior Days that could be used to create a much bigger and better event. But like Commissioner Miller said too, with more time, with more planning, it could be a completely, different event.
Now, one item, I was wondering if you do have this, you had some numbers for attendance at the fair. Do you have?
I apologize. We estimate at 3,500 for Warrior Days. And with the fair too, it is hard to keep track of people that come in, walk around booths, and then drive back out. So most of our numbers for Warrior Days come from the bull riding event and the concert.
So between the bull riding and the concert, not including Energy Days on the 4th.
Right. We didn't include any of Energy Days numbers. If we were including Energy Days numbers in with Warrior Days, easily 5,000 between the 4 days up there.
Commissioners, you have any questions in regards to the events we held this summer?
I think for me, Scott, I appreciate the work that you did step in and help with on both of those. I hope that going forward, and again, there was a lot of good volunteer help that helped put these things together, but as they go forward, then I would hope that we would take a different approach as far as our planning and our overestimating of numbers and what it can really provide. It's great exposure for the community, but I have nothing bad to say about it other than the fact that it was too short of a planning period of time and an overestimating of what those revenues would be to return. Yes, it brought back funds, and that's wonderful, but as we go forward with those kind of events, let's take a further approach is all I'm asking as far as our planning and putting things together. It doesn't have to be a year, but the 90 days was really pushing the envelope there. The other thing that I think we need to always look at is, okay, what do we budget and where do those funds come from? If there was a $40,000 budget and we were 5 over, yes, we made part of that back. But what if it hadn't been, then what would we have done? So let's be really cautious as we go forward with those kind of things.
I agree.
Commissioner Holmes, any comments?
The only thing that I want to comment on is the comparison between the two events is a little bit unfair, knowing that the money was taken from what was typically the fair. I think we can also, the comments that I've heard in the community, there are a lot of events that happen throughout the summer, and this stacked on other events that were happening throughout the summer. So we just need to be aware of what we're asking our residents to do, our constituents. We're asking them to attend multiple events throughout the summer, all summer long, and that gets somewhat expensive. This threw one more event in the middle of it. It's just something that we need to be aware of as we plan things out, and also that we're not hurting other events. I think Greek Festival is that weekend, and East Carbon
The week after.
or the week after. Okay, so
Yeah.
it just added one more event right in the middle of it. There were some really great things that were part of that event as well, but I also think that those events could have happened in conjunction with the fair.
Okay.
So
Well, just to wrap things up with these summertime events, the expenses perhaps could be considered a little bit overinflated in the sense that of the $10,000 of fireworks, only $2,000 of that was actually allocated to the Warrior Days events, whereas the $8,000 went to Energy Days. And so that, you know, that's something that we've always taken out of the $40,000 summertime budget anyway, just to be realized and recognized that we are very much strong supporters of our energy producers here in our community. And again, as Scott had mentioned, this was all very short planning. Some of that had to do with change of commissioner assignments. February of this year, I was now over the event center and the fairgrounds and was approached by members of the public who wanted to put this on. And, you know, there are reservations on how many activities can a small community have, but at the same time, they wanted to do something in Carbon County that has never done anything during those dates. And so we responded, and it was an experiment, and it worked. And the other goal was, hey, can we put on a county fair without spending so much money out of the taxpayers' pocket? And we were able to do that. So it was a multi-phase project, and it was accomplished. The results of which could be argued, you know, one way or another, if it's what we want to continue to do. But definitely we learned through trial and error, if we do continue forward, some better ways of doing that.
I feel that we kept pretty good notes on things, and I think if the decision was made to attempt something similar or the same, that we have a very good base of knowledge to pull from now and knowing how we could fine-tune the process.
Anyway,
Thank you, Scott.
appreciate it.
I'd like to add one more thing, just knowing, and this is maybe not in conjunction with Warrior Days, but as we look at new events in the future, or trying to have these types of things, most of our college or university students end up coming back to school after all of our summertime events are done and over with. As we look at maybe holding concerts like you have proposed, or other events, those would be keeping our university students in mind, so that we can help them be part of our community and give them more activities to do while they're here. I think that would be something that we need to look at in the future.
Yes. In fact,
Good idea.
on that point, I was just with Greg Dart reviewing 5 different university venues they have that we could be holding events in conjunction with them and partnering. And so we'll talk more about that.
Definitely, our event center is, although it's used frequently, could be used for a lot bigger events. So please, we welcome all the community input and advice and suggestions and questions that, like we received with Warrior Days, with how we can help facilitate those events.
Appreciate all you do, Scott.
Thanks for the report.
So that was item number 9 and 10 on the agenda. We're now on item number 11. Consideration and possible approval of a letter to the Forest Service protesting the Forest Service consideration of cooperating agency comments. Christian, is this you?
Probably Todd could explain it. He and I together.
Todd,
We'll let Todd
you
give
have
an
this hesitant
introductory,
walk to the mic.
and I'll jump in if I think of anything else.
So,
Now,
Mark-
we're not alone on this, just to throw that out.
no, so Mark Ward and I attended a meeting with the Forest Service last week. They're doing a great job at involving us. Our issue of concern is with us and other cooperating agencies, when they have a comment period, we submit comments a couple weeks early, and they open it up to the public. The way we understand a cooperating agency is they're supposed to take our comments, review them, and then take them and then include them in the draft for the public. The way they're doing it now is they are holding our comments the same as the public, and where we're a local county, our comments, should have a little bit more weight because of our water resources, some of the other things. So I know some of the other.
So as a cooperating agency, our voice should actually matter a little more than they're treating it right now.
Yes. So we had a meeting with the Forest Service last year about this. Nothing's really changed. We brought this up again, and we want them to hopefully understand that we have special privileges as a cooperating agency that they should take into consideration. So we're just want to send them a letter saying, hey, here's our concerns. Yes, they are involving us, but we want to make sure that local counties, special service districts, those who are cooperating agencies have a bigger voice.
And we want them to take into account our comments before they then issue it out to the public. So basically all we're getting is a sneak preview of what's being sent.
Yeah.
We provide our comments and then they send that same document that we received to the public. So they're
Without
not
any
taking
changes.
into account.
They should at least
At all,
publicize our
our
comments
comments.
with their document if they don't make adjustments to it. In my
Yes, they
opinion.
should, but they're required to take into account our comments are typically comments on our own plans, and they're required to take those into account. And so I would submit that's not even good enough to just include our comments. They really need to, unless they're going to give a response to those comments as to why they didn't include them, they need to be incorporated into and considered in what goes out to the public.
Which is the reason why we're protesting their current method.
The reason why this is so important is if our comments as a county, or even if we were able to get all of our residents to write letters in support of different things, sometimes these special interest groups from all over the country have, they have these mass letter campaign writing campaigns, and there are thousands and thousands of those. So I mean, if you even get all of our children, we're 20,000 individuals commenting against 30 or 40 or 50 or more thousand people. Our comments, this gives us an opportunity to protect our way of life, because this is where we live.
So we have an item on the table. I feel it's been properly presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Todd.
Okay. And I don't know if on the next item you want me to.
Please do. We have number 12, Memorandum of Understanding for Amendments to Greater Sage Grouse Plans that were created in 2015.
So the Forest Service is redoing their sage grouse plan. BLM just went through their process. We signed an MOU with the BLM, went through the whole process, updated the sage grouse plan. So Forest Service is doing the same thing. One thing that I've talked to the Forest Service about, they have some sage grouse areas that cover Skyline Mine. I think that's something that as a county we want them to reconsider and remove that sage grouse habitat out of the mine. From my understanding, there hasn't been sage grouse there. I look at it as,
So a lot of this is just a designation on a map that somebody who doesn't even live here put, and we'd like it perhaps changed because it's not realistic.
Yep.
There are no sage grouse up there.
No, there is the only documented current sage grouse leks are outside Aspen Cove, but those birds, they don't migrate. They stay in that area. The other leks are over Whitmore Park and that area of the county. So as we update the sage grouse plan, we want to be able to remove the mine, because anytime they want to go through coal lease or anything else, they have to gather more information documenting how they're not going to impact sage grouse habitat. So that's the biggest thing with the Forest Service plan, is making sure we can move that out of the general sage grouse habitat area.
With it currently there, since there are no sage grouse, it's just a needless prohibitive factor that delays business. So,
Todd, I think that, again, it was good to review the plan from back in 15, but there was, a lot of that was forced upon us as a county at that point in time. So we need to look very closely at not only the mine property, but also any of those other areas that really did encroach into public land, or not public, but private land also, because that puts an undue burden on the property owners. And so if you see any of those areas while we're in this process, I think it would be wise to say, hey, let's get that out of there too.
Comparisons of public and private land, your private landowners actually have more birds on them because they manage their property differently. They manage it for better sage grouse habitat, better vegetation than than your federal partners do. And so that should be some of the comments, some of the working discussions about how they manage their land
And that's not-
versus the private.
And that's not just a general comment, that's specific to our area.
All the current sage-grouse leks are on private property in our county. There's not a current sage-grouse lek
And the-
either in BLM or Forest
And for
Service
those who are
land.
confused, the sage-grouse Lex is just a population of sage-grouse.
Yes, that's where they nest and they breed and where they strut and they do their counts in the spring.
Yeah, and it's been like that forever. You can talk about the Schofield area, or you can talk about the Tavaputs, and it's the same way.
Yep.
That they flourish on private ground. They don't flourish on federal
Yep.
managed ground.
Now, this isn't an action item as it's written on the agenda, it's just well, it says memorandum of understanding for amendments. So are we here to approve amendments, or?
No, just a
Just an
MOU.
update.
Yes, the Forest Service sent us an MOU so we could participate in the update of the plan.
Okay.
I'd make
So
them,
action to come, but not today.
no,
Yes.
we need to
We'll
approve
approve
today.
the MOU, but then the plan amendments will be coming later.
Where we actually change something. Yes.
So I was gonna make a motion to approve the MOU to move forward in the process.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, Todd.
Now, Christian, it doesn't say consideration of possible approval or anything like that. Do we have any issue with how it was advertised?
No, I think you're all right. I think it gives notice that it's being considered.
Okay.
I
With that, motion carries.
think you're fine.
Item number 13, consideration and possible adoption of Ordinance 500, amendments to Business License Ordinance 281, I apologize.
Commissioners, the sole purpose of this ordinance is just to indicate that, to provide notice in the business license ordinance that if somebody comes in to get a business license for a short-term rental, it gives notice to that person that they also have to comply with the parking requirements, which were passed by you just a couple weeks ago in a commission meeting when you adopted a new Section 3 of the Carbon County Development Code. So it's simply meant to refer to that section of the Carbon County Development Code and make sure that people wanting to get a business license for short-term rental are on notice that they have to follow those parking requirements, which are presently to have one parking space on site per bedroom that's that's available. Well, actually, per bedroom in the house that's being rented.
Okay. Any other comments or items to consider in regards to that change?
Nope. I'll make a motion to approve Ordinance 500, amendments to Business License Ordinance 281.
Motion made,
I'll second that.
motion seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. 14, review and possible approval of revisions to county volunteer policy. Rose Barnes.
Commissioners, you should have all received a copy of this. This was prompted from Warrior Days because we had a lot of volunteers who wanted to volunteer. And the way our policy stated, they have to go through background checks, drug screen, physicals, treated just like regular employees. So I'd like to see it amended after talking with Commissioner Miller and the discussion with everyone else that we have an application form that they complete, which will help us determine what they're capable of volunteering for and whether or not we actually need to complete a background check, drug screen, and physical, because that is costly to the county. If it's a one-time event and they're just coming for, and they're not handling money, they're not operating machinery, I'm fine with doing that. So those are my recommendations along with the application.
But then it also allows us to document who was volunteering
Exactly.
and do a few things that help us for insurance purposes as well.
So I looked at this and I had a question. We refer to episodic volunteers or episodic volunteers, but we don't define that anywhere.
We probably should.
Yeah, I think we probably should define that in here.
Other than in the classifications section.
Is it in there?
This would be page 93, but it talks about means a person who offers to provide a one-time or occasional volunteer service.
Ah,
So as
Oh,
long
I
as that's
missed it.
included with it, I guess that kind of does define
I
it.
guess that answers it.
Is that okay?
I was
Is
wrong.
that- is
Actually,
that
that's
okay?
Yeah,
what I thought
that
it
satisfies it.
Christian.
I overlooked that part, so
And-
that's
and-
on me.
And Rose, you reviewed policies from other counties.
I did.
You did quite a bit of homework in this recommendation.
I did, and, you know, and some of them have this, you know, there's several that use the applications. Some are, you know, more, not as detailed as this one. I really like this one. This one was based on Emery County's application, and we can use it for a lot of different events.
So I had just one other question.
Yes.
So is an episodic volunteer not required to fill out an application, or are they just exempt from a background check
Just
and a
except
drug
for the
screen?
background check
So they still have to file an
application.
application?
That helps me determine whether or not we need to go through that process.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
that's all I have.
Thank you,
Was
Rose.
Any, let's see, any other questions or comments or suggestions? Any alterations? If this is good, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the revisions to the county volunteer policy.
I'll
Okay,
second
thank
that.
you.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Rose. 15, discussion and possible approval of a policy pertaining to delinquent accounts at the Carbon County landfill. Commissioner Hopes?
Commissioners, as you remember, we started charging fees at the landfill. For our contractors, we allow them to have an account set up and be able to pay as they can, or pay monthly, so they're not paying for every trip. We have some individuals or some companies that have become delinquent. At some point significantly delinquent, upwards of 9 months delinquent. There's a proposal that is before you, and I'll just read it. Beginning August 1st, 2018, new commercial billing policy will go into effect for the carbon, and we haven't approved anything, so the August 1st is not in effect, but policy will go into effect for Carbon County landfill regarding delinquent accounts. You will be notified if your account is delinquent. If your account becomes 90 days delinquent, we will revoke your dumping privileges until you are paid in full. If your account is to become delinquent for the second time, you will no longer have a billing option. We will require you pay by cash, check, or credit card at the time of service. So in the attempt or the thought here is to get people caught up and help them stay caught up on their dump charges. Do you have any recommendations or changes to what's being proposed?
I don't have any changes. I think we need to act on that, but when will, in number one, they'll be notified if their account is delinquent. Is that going to be a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day? Are we going to, give them three periods of notice as a business would when delinquencies come out, or are we giving them a 30-day and then giving them a notice to get it paid? Or
So I'm not sure how they're doing it now. I think at 30 days they send the bill. At 60 days they become delinquent. At 90 days, it says in here at 90 days the delinquent will be revoked.
okay.
What do we do about that people are currently past that 90 days? Do we give them a 2-week period, or
Currently, we
just-
don't have anything in policy. Like I said, we have people that are 9 months out.
Right. I'm just saying, if we implement this today, what happens to those that are beyond it?
I think we should go through the same process. We give them their notice. They have 90 days from that point to become caught up. At that point, we should revoke or have the option of revoking their dumping privileges and go to a cash basis.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Commissioner Hopes, where there are already those that are 90 days delinquent already, could we send the notice if we adopted this, could we go ahead and send a notice and tell them that, you know, their dumping rights have been revoked? But, I mean, that's only because they're already out. No notice has been given that that's what would happen, but I don't know how we would.
You don't have to allow somebody who's refusing to pay their bill to keep coming in. So I think it's really, at that point, just a matter of reasonableness. What we could do is send them a letter saying, if you don't get it caught up in 10 days, your dumping privileges, your billing privileges will be revoked, and you'll be required to pay by cash when you come in the future. I guess they'll be revoked, and you won't be able to dump at all until they're paid in full. But yeah, I don't think we need to wait another 90 days. I think we can just give them a 10-day notice and tell them that this is the policy, and because they're 90 days delinquent, they're subject to it right now.
Okay.
I like what the policy is here. I just wondered how to handle those that are already past that point. So,
Okay.
Because it's reasonable and because we can revoke anybody's privilege who are not paying, we have more flexibility there.
So I think we ought to, but I think we ought to I agree with Commissioner Potter that it would serve everybody well to know exactly when you're delinquent. So when you get your bill 30 days out, you're not delinquent at that point. But if you wait another 30 days and don't pay it then, at that point, then you're delinquent. So,
Okay.
so a 90-day bill is really going to be,
60 days.
well, that's my question. Are you going to go, so if you go on January 1st, your bill's not going to be due till February 1st, but you're not delinquent till March 1st, right? At what point would you reach the 90 days from, is it 90 days from that February 1st?
Yeah, that would be typical billing practice.
Okay.
Is that if we bill on a monthly basis and it's due by the 10th of the month, say, or whatever, if it's not paid in that first 30 days, you're 30 days late.
Okay. Okay.
And of course, the letter and the bill will explain all that. Any further discussion? Ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the policy pertaining to delinquent accounts at Carbon County Landfill.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 16, review and possible approval of fiscal year 2019 predator control contract with the Department of Agriculture and Food. We do this every year. Commissioner Hopes, you want to hit this one too?
Sure, why not? We pay $14,000 to this program for predator control. They give us back $7,000. I'm not sure, somewhere through the year they give us $7,000 of that back. So it costs us $7,000 to provide predator control for animals, problem animals, and also predators out on the range in the county.
So when it's, in a way, through a refund, it's a matching program.
Correct.
Any questions in regards to that?
I think it's a good program.
I'll make a motion to approve the predator control management.
Motion made
I'll second it.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 17, review and possible adoption of Resolution 2018-13 Pre-Disaster Mitigation Plan. Justin? As you smile.
I was really hoping you'd just go through it and I wouldn't have to come up. Good afternoon, Commissioners. So it's the same plan that I brought before you a month and a half, 2 months ago. We submitted it to the state of Utah. They had no changes. It was then submitted to FEMA. They also had no changes. So it's the exact same document that you received last time it was on the agenda.
Can you give a brief explanation of what that means? We have some potential candidates in the room.
So the pre-disaster mitigation plan is the county's plan to mitigate large-scale disasters, be it flooding, wildfire, earthquakes, any large disaster we have. So we went through and identified all those different hazards that we had. We classified them. Obviously, wildfires are our biggest hazard in Carbon County, then flooding, so on and so forth. And then along with that, not only did we identify what our hazards were, we met with stakeholders and were able to come up with some action items that we'd like to see done to mitigate those problems. So once this is adopted, there's actually another grant that's going to be coming open here shortly. It's the HMGP, Hazard Mitigation Planning Grant. So that gives us the chance to look at our plan and say, okay, these are the things that we're most concerned about. This is what needs to be done. And we can take those projects, apply for other grants to mitigate those problems.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2018-13, pre-disaster mitigation plan.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Justin. Item 18 on the agenda, review and possible approval of resolutions 2018-14 to fill current vacancies on county boards. Current vacancies are on the Carbon County Weed Board, of which we had 0 applicants, Carbon County Career Service Board, and the Housing Authority of Carbon County. Commissioners, were you able to review the potential applicants?
Yes.
And do you have discussion or recommendations?
So just for clarification, on the Career Service Council, it said that there was only 1 applicant, Jason Marshall, but as I read through Jeannie Wilson, she had also applied for the Career Service Council, so we have 2 applicants there.
I show that we have 2 applicants on the Housing Board, but did she put on both the Career Council and the Housing?
If you look on her application, it says Housing Authority of Carbon County and Carbon County Career Services Council is what she is applying for.
That's correct, Commissioner.
That is correct.
So I'll make a motion to approve. Do you want to take these one at a time then?
Yes. Let's do the Career Service first,
Of
of which there are 2 vacancies.
I'll make a motion to approve Jason Marshall and Jeannie Wilson to the Career Service Council.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We filled that board. Hallelujah. Housing Authority, number next.
We have 2 good applicants here.
2 applicants, same 2 applicants that you just appointed to the Career Service Council?
No.
No, we have
Oh.
Boyd Marsing and Jeannie
I
Wilson.
apologize. We have Boyd and Jeannie.
And only 1 vacancy on that particular board.
Correct.
So I'd make a motion where we've already appointed Jeannie, that we appoint Boyd Marsing to the Housing Authority Board.
We have a motion
I'll second that motion.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations, Boyd. That is all, as there were no applicants for the Weed Board. And do we need to do anything further to finish up with that item, Christian, as far as the resolution?
Now that I've got the names for it, I can insert those in and,
So we're good to go?
yeah, that's all we need.
Okay. Item 19 on the agenda, consideration and possible approval of a cost-sharing agreement with other counties for personal property tax appeals.
And Commissioners, that really should be for centrally assessed personal property tax appeals. We've typically shared costs on those appeals based on our, based on the percentage of the, basically on the percentage of the amount that is at issue. And so that hasn't been submitted to us yet, but I think it's going to be. And so we've just been asked by some of the counties if we'd be willing to share in that. And so if you make a motion tonight to indicate your willingness to share in that, that will help us to be.
So it's something we've already been engaged in, it's just been informal, and this is
Yes.
kind of more of a formal arrangement.
That's correct.
Based on the percentage of what we're appealing versus what they're appealing.
Right. So you'll be seeing that at some point, but
And it's also something we have done in the past couple of years.
it
with this
is.
particular
That's
group.
correct. And typically on several of these, we are not, and especially, even though the amounts are significant to us, the total amounts being appealed are generally, our share of that is actually usually not actually real large. So a lot of the times the bigger counties carry the bulk of that cost for us. But in any event, that's to cover the legal fees for those appeals.
Okay.
And I think it's also important, the reason that we should even consider doing it is the potential in tax shift in the revenue side of it to the county is $559,000, $885. So it's significant
Which
to
could-
mitigate and to go forward with
could be
the
a
appeals.
12% tax rate increase for local citizens if we lost that to centrally assessed.
I don't know the percentage, but I do know that it would be a tax
That,
shift.
that's just for one of the companies though, I believe.
Oh, that is correct. I'm
So,
sorry.
so it's almost $1 million of shift. Well, not quite,
Has the potential to be.
right? But direct to the county, it's 263,195.
And when they talk
you,
about a
Commissioner.
shift, when we lose funding through these centrally assessed properties, that funding, even though our tax rate change has not happened, the funding then comes from the residential taxpayers
And the business.
and the local businesses that are not considered centrally assessed, small businesses. So we have consideration on the table for possible approval to have this MOU with the other counties.
I'll make a motion to approve an MOU for cost sharing agreement with other counties for personal property tax appeals.
I'll second that.
Motion made, second also, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Commissioner Hopes is cranking out some numbers he's gonna have ready for us here as a total.
Yeah, it's 951,299,000 to the county-wide, so all taxing entities, with the county's portion being 263,195.
A significant amount, which is why we engage in these appeals. Item number 20 on the agenda, request and possible approval of refund of taxes for erroneous assessment of property number 01-1809-39 in 2004.
I don't know if we have anybody here to speak on that.
Yeah, I don't have particular information on why it was erroneous or what the problem was on that. I do know that under the statute, you are required, you have to approve the refund of those taxes, so.
There was a property that supposedly through the assessor's office was listed as having a physical structure on it, and it was being taxed as such, even though that structure did not exist. I do not know if this is that one, but that's the only one I'm aware of.
It wouldn't be because the adjusted value is
A
153,421,
significant amount.
so it does have to be a property. But I don't know how much the adjustment is at this point in time.
So without further information, I'll entertain a motion to table this.
When I reached out to Kay, I have the amount, but Christian, I wonder how far back do we go on these? Because this is from 2004 to 2017. Is there a statute that says you can only go back so far?
I don't believe it does not say that there's a limit on that, so.
Okay.
It's to our discretion.
Well, I don't know that that's, I mean, I don't have the statute in front of me, so I can't tell you.
I would recommend that somebody make a motion to table this till we have more information.
You have the numbers, Commissioner Hopes?
If we were to pay back from 2004 to 2017, Kay pulled up that, and it would be $12,836.18 that we would refund to this owner.
For over that period of time.
From 2004 to 2017.
You know, with the numbers there and over that long period of time, I'd go ahead and make a motion. It's been recommended by the Recorder's Office, and it sounds like as far as Kay's office, that we go ahead and make that approval for the refund of taxes.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll say nay, just because I feel like we need to have more information when we make these decisions. Motion carries. Item number 21 on the agenda, approval of county credit card for Seth Marcin, clerk auditor, interim clerk auditor.
I'll make a motion to approve that we get a credit card from Zions for Seth Marcin.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. We are adjourned. Thank you for your attendance today and for listening in online. And buckle up and drive safe.